He kicks, it's on the way. It is good. It's good.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
Oh, he caught it. Oh, unbelievable.
Alrighty, here we go. Welcome to episode 15, the longest our podcast has ever gone. Heading into championship week. What's going on, Phil?
I mean, it's not that big of a thing when we don't really prepare anything. We just get together and we're like, hey, you want to do a podcast? Sure. So it'd be the longest.
Busy lives, and it's the holidays.
Fair enough. Do you have new internet yet?
I do not. So this is going to be just as shitty as it always is.
And Jam's already frozen.
Pop off right now.
This is what Jam's going to need more than anything for Christmas is his new router situation, because as you can all see, you know, he looks pretty happy in his Santa hat there. My Santa hat is occupied for the trophy, of course, but till Jam figures out his internet, it's going to be tricky, because normally this is where I continue to talk about team previews to kill time until Jam is available, but we haven't even got that far this week, so. Yeah, I don't know. I can't put anyone's comments on screen either, so I am just sort of talking endlessly until Jam gets back. And there he is. The timing of that, as soon as I might get new internet, no.
Man, it's really bad. I am going to order that thing that you talked about, though, but I got to get a router as well.
I thought you already ordered it.
No, because I was thinking of maybe getting a signal booster instead.
No, don't do that. I've had them before. They're garbage.
But this works
because
better.
They rely on the Wi-Fi signal to repeat the Wi-Fi signal. If your Wi-Fi signal is already garbage, they are not going to help.
No, but it's garbage in this room. It's not garbage downstairs.
Sure, but where are you planning on putting your signal booster?
Well, I mean, doesn't it just boost the signal of the Wi-Fi so it's not as bad further out?
No, you would have to put it sort of like halfway between the router and the crappy room you're in.
Oh,
and
I'll just go with the power
line.
line.
The power line thing. It works better. Like the signal thing, I tried it. It didn't work at all. The power line thing works a lot better.
All right, back to back, Jack. Shall we get into this week's action? We're into championship week. And somehow we're both ended up in the finals. Isn't that fun?
Yeah, you know, I don't want to throw the word conspiracy out there, but
there's no way we could have planned out the Ben Wyatt one. It was in front of everyone's faces in the team. But it's been interesting. It's been interesting. I definitely was hoping that I'd do well in this league, so I'm very proud of where I'm at. But now I'm just crazy nervous and anxious because I desperately want to win. And what makes it harder is I think I am still a slight favorite. But very slight. According to the site, it's like 6 points.
What frustrates me a bit here is I am in the championships of 3 of the 4 leagues I'm in, which is really unusual. I don't think I've ever pulled anything like that off. But even if I win all 3 of them, my collective winnings are still less than you get from this one league.
Yeah, well, the buy-in is more in this.
Yeah. So...
Like, is there? So right now, my earnings would have been the same as when the playoffs started, right?
Well, they're slightly higher guaranteed because there's money for the loser of the championship game too.
Oh,
so you don't know which necessarily you are yet, but there's money for the loser and the winner.
Yeah, it's gonna be a nerve-wracking couple days for sure, especially because it doesn't help that I'm in the midst of some potential injury issues, so that the timing of that doesn't really help.
Yeah, so just to let you know exactly how much is on the line for winning versus losing, I'm trying to load the league finance sheet, but naturally my work computer is trash, so I see no tabs. Up there they go. Tabs are up. And I can't click. I hate my work computer, Jam.
Work computer is terrible.
I just got sent a new one, and it's just absolutely useless.
Is it just as bad as the other one?
Yeah.
Or is it worse? Okay.
It's worse because they put Windows 10 on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, you win the league. Any guesses as to how much you're getting? Not setting aside what you've already guaranteed.
Just for winning the league?
Yeah.
Maybe like $600
$1,217
just for winning.
US. That is the
Holy
championship
shit.
winning pool.
Wow! Oh, this made this so much worse. It makes the stress of this so much worse.
The runner-up, the runner-up gets money too. The runner-up gets $347.89. So, well, there's
like outside of what you've already earned.
Yeah, there's an $870 difference there, but either way, you're coming away with some good cash.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I see it is, I mean, if I win the league, then I'll probably take some of that money back. But if not, I'll just I'll probably still take some of it back. But basically, I see it as it covers me for the league for another year or so.
Or if you win the league, it covers you for the league for like 5 years.
Yeah, I can't think that far ahead. I'm taking that money out. Yeah, exactly. I'll keep it for 1 year. Leave that in league safe so I don't have to worry about it. Maybe I'll use it to pay FOMFA for a bit too.
Yeah, I mean, pay off your leagues for whatever future league safe holds, but you're still going to have a huge amount left over after that.
And it will be very gratifying, but because I know that my team is built for the short term. Like this is the best. This year is the best shot of that I'll have. I'll have a decent shot next year too, and then after that, it's going to start to come apart a little bit.
So I mean, the money is nice, but the hat.
No, it's about the hat.
It's about
the hat, and it's about the just being the first plaque, being the first plaque on the trophy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, being first plaque on the trophy is definitely nice. It's also nice being the 5th plaque on the trophy and the 6th plaque on the trophy. But
I know. I mean, by first plaque, I mean a plaque. Just being a plaque on the trophy. Which I guess having played fantasy for 3 years and winning my first championship in the 3rd year isn't a terrible thing, I guess.
No, that's actually really good.
I thought that it was like, man, I'm failing at this. About what a championship is.
2 years into a league, and you're like, I'm terrible. I don't know what I'm doing. There's 16 teams in the league, damn.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Chris. You're just going to have to watch it. You didn't.
No, he doesn't have to. No, he can always turn this off.
We will get into a little bit about. I think that was probably the most close and also gut-wrenching of games was mine and Chris's, because there's so many bad decisions that could have swung it the other way, more so on his side, but also on my side. But that was definitely a close, and I've never watched a Giants game so intently in my life before. with rooting for the Giants to do something, and they ended up doing just enough something.
Yeah,
still not nothing, but just enough something.
I definitely am sure I'll have some things to say about the games that happened, but I don't know why this computer is so much worse at loading the internet than my normal one. And I realized, I was like, this webcam kind of sucks. It seems bright in here. Maybe I can turn down the lights from reflecting off my shiny head. But I don't even know how to turn my lights off. I have no idea anymore because I always turn them off through my laptop. So now my whole apartment is just lit up and I don't know what to do about it.
Oh, right. You like wired everything up. You like powered it.
So it was controlled through my laptop. So I'm sure there's an app on my phone, but it's not installed. So
yeah, I feel this is the flaw in your system.
The occasional time my laptop is in Apple, I have to sleep in a lit up apartment. Yeah, that's.
Well, since last time I think we started with Ben Wyatt, I think we'll start with FOMFA this week. So let me.
I would say alternately, let's start with Ben Wyatt because you just told the FOMFA people this even existed like a few minutes ago.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. All right. So, bam, we are Ben Wyatted. So the last week's games, obviously, it was myself versus Chris in the semis, and it was Malibu versus versus Las Vegas. So Jeff versus Denver. I think that game was a bit more clear-cut. It was close for a while, but there was a lot more yet to play on Malibu's side, so I don't think it was as dramatic. What was the differential in the end? Let me check.
Sorry?
Like the point differential in the Denver.
It was almost 30 points. Like it was just shy of that.
Yeah, but good for Denver, and Denver had a hell of a run. And I think what was that point you made on the chat? I think we were talking about the financials about Las Vegas.
Oh yeah, team. Denver. Like you look at the financial documents, and there are 5 teams that did not make money this year. Okay. Most of them won't surprise you. Those teams are Chicago, San Antonio, Washington, Jersey, and Las Vegas.
Yeah, so like 4 of those teams were not in the hunt really at all.
Everyone else made something, either from getting team of the week. Like I didn't win my rivalry battle, but at least won one team of the week. Some people got the division.
Even Jason won team of the week.
Half the league gets rivalry champ points, but Las Vegas never won the team of the week. Las Vegas didn't win their rivalry matchup, and Las Vegas didn't win their division.
That's wild.
So, despite this playoff run, they came away with, unless maybe they win the Pro Bowl, but they may come away with $0 out of this whole thing.
Oof, that's rough. They got some good performances in that last game too, just not enough of them. It didn't help that he started a defensive end who was out.
What hurts more about that is Eric Armstead on his bench got 20.5 points.
Oof,
now, that wouldn't have been enough on its own, but it would have made the game much closer.
Yeah. I mean, and he's got Matt Ryan on his bench who put up a lot of points, but he's got Russell Wilson starting, so you wouldn't expect that move to be made.
Well, yes and no. I mean, Russell Wilson has, you say
so hit and miss lately.
But since week 8, he has not been particularly good. And he went up last week against one of the top-rated pass defenses in the NFL. So if you take out his game against the Jets, where he got 29 points against the 31st ranked defense, but for what it's worth, only 206 yards passing. All of those points were just little touchdown passes or whatever. He has been one of the worst quarterbacks in the league since week 8. So it's hard to say specifically. Yeah, you take out Russell Wilson, but it's not as obvious as you have to leave him in.
I guess if you also consider Tampa Bay's pass defense.
Exactly. Matt Ryan was playing one of the worst ranked teams. So this was a possible win for Vegas, but it would have been a tough one. Like I can't blame him as these are obvious decisions, but they also weren't things where, no one is going to make them.
Yeah. I've always kind of taken that as if I never was going to start this guy, then I can't feel bad about it. But in this case, there was a couple that would have been starts. Armstead would have been a must start. But then I guess you could say the same thing about Malibu. I'm sure there's some guys on Malibu's bench that performed. Not really, actually. Logan Thomas had a nice game.
Who started?
Mark Andrews had a better game.
Thomas in over Mark Andrews.
Yeah, and Mark Andrews had a better game, so it wasn't even the wrong choice. So
did he?
Yeah, 17.
Thomas got 19, but they weren't far off.
Okay, sorry, yeah, pretty close.
But most of the players who did better on Malibu's bench, they weren't really likely to see the light of day. The other one who, that's not even really possible. Traquan Smith in his lineup. That one is one that you could sort of, be like, okay, well, why isn't Jamison Crowder in there?
Well, he's in this week.
Well, there you go. But yeah, overall, it's a battle of two good teams. It wasn't particularly close, but they were at least both teams showed up.
Yeah.
We didn't have a game where it was like, oh, you scored 140 points.
Yeah, you just got bombed out. Yeah.
That's always frustrating in the playoffs when your team does that. So this was actually both teams scoring reasonably close to their average. Malibu a little higher, Las Vegas a little lower, but it was overall a pretty good game. Your game though, much more interesting game.
So stressful. This was a really stressful because I wasn't even able to watch it all together, because I had my kid around and everything. I was like, every once in a while trying to check into the scores, and oh my god, this is a stressful game.
If you recall, one of the things I mentioned was that I wanted to make sure that the guys that I traded Chris helped him out, so I didn't feel bad about taking a picture for something that didn't help him because they're all rentals. Yeah, was sort of it's going to sound harsh to Chris, but this is sort of the most ideal situation that could have happened for me. Because as my friend, you're in the finals, but if Chris had have just started the players I traded him, he would have been in the finals. So,
well, who are the guys that he didn't start that you traded him?
J.C. Jackson, who got an interception, 16 points. Buda Baker didn't do much, but he did do half a point more than Devin McCourty. And the other players I traded him who aren't the other players I traded him are in his lineup, like Keelan Cole, who really didn't actually do much of anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they were just getting destroyed.
And Gronk, who at least slightly outpaced Jimmy Graham. But the game was close enough that, J.C. Jackson alone
that would have done it.
That would have done it.
Anyone, like, this was such a close game that any one of these swaps would have done it. Like, he had it, like, I know that he was kicking himself about DeForest Buckner. Because he was highly questionable going into the game, then he played and put up 28.5 points. I'd be very frustrated about that too, because if the news is highly questionable, the guy didn't end up starting. And Chris is making the points that he didn't have service. He was up in the river. He was up by the river, but it is what it is. I mean, I had a couple on my side that I'm trying to think if I would have started these guys or not. Like, which guys were really like that I was kicking myself over. Probably the Robbie Anderson versus Kiki Cutie.
You were never gonna start.
No, because fucking Robbie Anderson was going up against Washington.
And
did nothing. And his trend has been going downwards, where Cutie's trend has been going upwards. So I do feel bad about that one because
Cutie has actually scored points lately. I didn't even. Yeah. I mean, in week 14 against the Bears, though, it was on 3 targets. He just happened to get a touchdown pass. But
it's like without Fuller there, he seems to be the guy that's picking up all that slack. The rest of them I can't really get mad about. I'm annoyed about Joey Bosa.
Jamel Dean has been not doing anything for a while.
No.
I mean, he was injured, but even before that, there's a string of games where he wasn't really doing
like Jamel Dean's points are high because he had a couple games where he had like a massive interception. Like Carlton Davis is still the better cornerback, or at least the more consistent cornerback on that team.
I guess if you look at snap count, though, like I'm shocked that you put Nick Needham in because, again, I don't think
that was a dumb decision. I mean, but the thing is, though, I would have put Nick Needham in over Rocky Ya-Sin, probably, not over Jamel Dean. Like, I would probably put Rocky Ya-Sin in, and he got 0. So that would have lost me the game. But the one that really bugs me is having no indication of, I don't know where I would find this, I guess Twitter, about Joey Bosa being on a snap limitation.
Sometimes you don't necessarily know. Yeah. Sometimes it's just they tell you in the game, and it's like, well, shit, that didn't help me.
Because if I ended up losing that game, like I would have been most annoyed by that, because I definitely was I had Jerry Hughes in the lineup until Joey Bosa was cleared, and then switched it out to because just out of default, and Jerry Hughes had a nice game. So Austin Hooper as well, but Austin Hooper was is like Chris's decision where he was highly questionable going into the game, and I couldn't risk it, so I had to go with fucking Tyler Eifert, who did okay.
Tyler Eifert didn't do that bad.
Yeah, I was fine with it.
Fine.
Yeah.
But overall, this one was one where it's, it came down to managing because it was a close game, but Chris actually had more potential points than you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he had big performances on his bench, and he's noting that he was going to honestly do Hansen for Cole.
Would that have been enough? Hansen got 13.5, Cole got 3.7, so that's another 9.8.
Yes. I think that would have been enough.
That would have been enough. Yeah, that would
just have enough. It would have been like just enough.
Like 1.5 points or something. But
that's what makes it exciting. So at least it was a tight race. And kudos to Chris for putting up a hell of a fight. But 2 games. I don't know if you call that a rivalry. If I won both games, maybe we have to rethink this rivalry thing. I'm just messing with you, Chris. That was a very close and very nerve-wracking game. That really, the thing I was most nervous about is what you pointed out, was at the end of the game, the Giants just throwing some like Hail Mary, like, just some risky bombs, and what's his name getting the interception.
Exactly. That was a realistic chance at the end when they're trying to come back.
Like my heart was pounding at that. Like, it's like fucking, but thankfully, this Colt McCoy is a very careful quarterback and just said, you know what? We'll just move up slowly and lose the game. Let's just do that instead. And good game to you, Chris.
So the finals of this league, they were exactly what we would have thought in like the early parts of the season.
Yeah.
My projections before the season even began had you and Malibu as 2 of the best teams in the league. Early on, it became very clear that those you were 2 of the highest scoring teams. Malibu trailed off a bit near the end because they started dominating, then they started losing a few games. But overall, I mean, they still have a solid roster. Their points scored are still, I believe, second only to your team. So ultimately, we have the two best teams in the finals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a good thing to see here. And, I mean, this is one of the advantages or disadvantages, I suppose, depending on how you look at it, of having a bye week for the best teams. It means they're likelier to end up in the finals, which was
But that's what you earn. Yeah, that's what you earn during the year.
The regular season more important. So you guys earned it. You got a shot at the Ledgerman. How confident are you, Sam?
I want that hat, man. I don't know, man. I'm very nervous. I have a couple of things that, are still very questionable for me. I like Tom Brady's matchup. So I have to face him in another league, and I'm not looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm not liking the fact that I'm just seeing now that Aaron Jones might be limited. Geez, I'm not going to read that right now. But right now I've got Salvin Ahmed in. It's a big question mark because if Myles Gaskins comes in, then he shares those snaps. But James Robinson is limited by an ankle injury, and there's this timing thing with these fucking Saturday games.
Yeah, James Robinson and Aaron Jones are both going to play.
You think so?
I don't.
Because for Jacksonville.
Okay, Aaron Jones is for sure going to play.
Yeah, but think about for James Robinson, what is the point of them playing him if he's got a questionable ankle and they desperately don't want to win a game at this point? Because the Jets did them a massive favor by winning a game. If the Jags win a game, they lose that number one pick.
Yeah, but people keep saying these things and laughing at the Jets. This is the point that I've made for years now. Every time people are like, real teams tank. No, they don't. The players are always trying to win. Yeah, even if ownership is probably behind the scenes going to be like, God damn it, you guys won. What the fuck? Because it's irritating and fans are like that. Yeah. The players are still going to be doing their best to win, which is what you saw with the Jets, and the Jaguars are going to do that too. They're not going to throw these games.
But that's what I mean, though. It's not about throwing the games, but James Robinson, if he's out there, is going to try and do his best. But if he's got a bit of an ankle injury and is a little limited, he doesn't control if he gets to play.
No, but he wants to. Usually it's the coach who does. And how often does the coach come back in a season where they have just lost all their games? So they are trying to show, hey, we can do something. Give me a chance here with what I can do with this roster.
Yeah.
The people who actually want the pick are not the ones in charge of the play calling. So, there's a chance they win, but I think he'll play, but he's a little more legitimately questionable going into this week.
Yeah, if he plays, I'm playing him for sure. Though Sullivan, actually, I don't know if Gaskins isn't playing, then Ahmed might be the better play overall because he's going up against the Raiders' run defense, and he just put up a big game. So a lot of confidence going his way. I don't know. It's good. This is going to be rack my brain for right up until Sunday, and then I've got a couple just questionables at the wrong time. Even Kiki Cutie right now is questionable. I guess I can put Robbie Anderson, but he's going up against Washington. Julio Jones, who the fuck knows Julio Jones, not giving any real information. They have nothing to play for as well. So, if he's questionable, do they play him? A lot of frustrating decisions coming down, but I don't know. At some point, I'm not going to be able to control it, and I'm just going to go with the flow and see what happens and just hope for the best. A couple things going my way is John Harbaugh versus the Giants.
Yeah, you've by far got the better coach matchup here.
Yeah.
Because Tomlin's going up against the Colts, who, with the way Pittsburgh has been playing lately, it wouldn't shock me if the Colts actually won that game.
Yeah, I mean, they lost to Cincinnati. They lost to who's the three teams they lost to in a row? I mean, they lost to the Bills, Cincinnati, and I'm forgetting
Washington.
Washington, okay, but Washington's decent.
Washington
they shouldn't have beaten Pittsburgh, but they're not as bad as Cincinnati.
The Bills, you're fine. Washington, you're and the Bengals, you just start laughing at them.
And the Colts should be on that streak of fine.
Yeah. If not slightly above that.
But I mean, Juju's going to stop dancing on the logos, so let's see if that makes a difference.
Kyler Murray for Malibu's going up against San Francisco, which is a curious matchup. San Francisco's pass defense and run defense ranks pretty well, but they're very up and down as a team.
Yeah.
And I never really know which one is going to show up in any given week.
Mm-hmm. I think they might be starting Josh Rosen.
Oh, that's not good for their offense.
That's their offense. Well, they signed Josh Rosen to the active squad, but it's probably going to be Beathard.
Chris Carson going up against the number 2 rush defense. Like, these are some rough matchups that they're facing here.
Yeah, and he's got a couple questionables as well, like Jamison Crowder, questionable, Terry McLaurin, questionable. So, like, yeah, it's like we're both facing some annoying issues going into the final games, but I guess this is what happens when you get near the end of the season. The thing that's frustrating about it is, just – well, I hope that you're right, that if the players are good to go, that the coaches will play them and they'll try hard and there won't be any limitations to what they do. Just hope for the best. I mean, I think my running backs don't have the greatest matchups either, so –
the interesting thing, like, there's the projected scoring graph here, and it's strange seeing Friday and Saturday. We're going to have your suffering gradually extended over the Christmas weekend, which is definitely the best time when your family is, trying to have a good time opening gifts, and you're just on your phone yelling, "Come on!"
It's like, what? Well, most of my games are at least Sunday. I mean, I got a Friday game. I got one.
Your Friday game is insignificant, but like that's Christmas, so that's not too important. But you have a lot of guys in your Saturday game.
Who do I have my Saturday game? Oh yeah, shit.
Like you just have like a steady progression through this curve.
I need big performances on Saturday, yeah. And that was the thing that was tough about the last week's game too, is like the early progression of games, they did not look good for me. Like all the guys that performed were performing under their projections, and I was like, fuck, this is not going to be good. But yeah, I mean, what can I do?
One of the most challenging injuries that Malibu's facing, I don't know why Brian Burns was in the lineup. He's doubtful. And it's so rare doubtful people play that, like, you could just basically write him off at this point.
Yeah.
Which is huge for you, as Brian Burns has had a tremendous season.
I have Brian Burns and FOMFA. I'm loving Brian Burns. Brian Burns has won me a lot of those garbage games. Burns was a big part of my loser bowl.
Antoine Winfield, I know I'm struggling with him because he's also questionable. I think Malibu has way more injury issues than you do at the moment, actually. So,
all right, well, I guess that balances it. At least Chris Carson's questionable too.
Yeah, he's got a lot to deal with here. So I think you've got an advantage. You had the better team in the regular season. You have better matchups, I think, and you have fewer injuries. So
that's too many good things going my way.
You've got as many good things going your way as possible here, Jam. But
make me feel good, because that means
yeah, those are the games you're always like, something is gonna go wrong.
I'm not feeling confident about any of this. I'm gonna be very nervous the entire time, but it'll be fun. I mean, I will say that this is like I get how crazy fun fantasy football can be when you're like winning, even when you're losing. But like it's just like it's made it so exciting this year, because I feel like every year, because I'm so new to it, I'm picking up more and more.
You have had the least stressful year possible for fantasy football, because in one league you just didn't give a shit, and your team still started winning games eventually. And in the other one, you didn't lose a single game. So even though you're like, I don't want to lose a game, if you're like, 12-1, you still get the bye week. It doesn't matter. So
I wasn't too concerned about being undefeated. It was just
until you were in the playoffs, where it's like, if you lose, you're out. You really had nothing to stress out over the entire season.
No, I wasn't really too stressed during the season. I'd get annoyed when I'm seeing like, some stupid shit happening, but all of it worked out. So I can't really be, there's not a single time where I could say, man, that decision wasn't the right one, because it all ended up working out. Really enjoyed the format of this league too. I thought it was going to be very hard to keep up with, but as you get used to it, I guess with any league, as you get used to the different nuances of who to play and what coach makes a difference when, turned out to be really, really interesting. Very much enjoyed Ben Wyatt. Looking forward to the rebuild in FOMFA as well. That should be a lot of fun.
Hear that, everyone? The man who went 14-0 really enjoyed Ben Wyatt. Who would have thought?
Yeah, I feel like
I
feel like it's the right league, guys. I feel like, and I know that there's interest from some of the FOMFA guys if a spot ever opens up, because I think they're starting to also realize that it's pretty interesting, the rule changes that you implemented and the differences between FOMFA and Ben Wyatt.
Yeah, we actually have a waiting list now. That's
I was actually always curious. I don't know if I ever asked you, like, why did you decide not to go with special teams in this league? Because this is the more complex league, quote unquote.
So, there's a few reasons. First off, the punter is nothing but basically straight luck. I put it into the other one because it was like, what a wacky idea, a punter. That's not in fantasy leagues. And I just was trying to emulate like a full team as much as possible when I set up FOMFA. But it's basically straight luck. And the kicker, well, not quite as much as the punter. There's so much variation from year to year and from game to game that there's a huge amount of luck there too. And finally, the kick returner, which I think is kind of a fun like lottery ticket position.
Yeah.
I'm worried, and one of the rule changes I want to discuss for FOMFA, like if the NFL removes kick returns, we need to be prepared for that. And I think there's a very realistic possibility that happens in the next 5 years or so.
Why do you say that?
Because kick returns are the most dangerous play in the game. So what the NFL has tried to do is they've done things like, oh, well, you can't get a running start. You have to start at the line, and we're going to move the football in so that there's more touchbacks, and we'll move the touchback line out to the 25, so there's more incentive to have touchbacks. But they didn't think what the actual impact of these would be, which would be a lot of kickers, not all of them, and this varies a lot by team, but a lot of kickers are like, all right, I will kick the ball a lot higher so that we have more time to run down the field and flatten them. So the actual amount of returns hasn't really changed that much since these rules have been implemented. Further, I know the Eagles at the owners meeting last year submitted a proposal which would have been great, and it didn't happen. But it was the idea that rather than onside kicks, you get rid of those. And if you can get rid of the only reason you keep a kickoff essentially is like, well, what about an onside kick? We need those. Mm-hmm. If you can replace that with something like it's 4th and 15 from whatever yard line, that's about the percentage that you want to be giving that team. Because the odds of converting a 4th and 15 are not high. So if someone wants to do it, like where they normally do an onside kick, you just give them the ball, but you give them the ball at 4th and 15. So if they aren't able to convert that, then it goes back to the other team anyway.
And like put it at like basically their like
put it where like you do it from like the kickoff location basically, right? Like it'd be very similar to an onside, like how the onside kick used to be before this year, where it became very close to impossible.
What is what line? What yard is the onside kick done from? 40?
Well, any kick is done, I think, from the 35 now. It used to be the 30, but then they're like, let's move the kickers closer so there's more touchbacks. And now
kickers are just kicking it higher.
Yeah, exactly. But as a result of that, like, there's a good chance that kick returners sort of fade into oblivion because the majority of our points come from kick returners, not punt returns. Mm-hmm. So all those factors between luck and like potential rule changes, I was like, you know what, let's just eliminate the special teams from this league. The other changes were things like requiring corners. That was more just to punish myself. Because some people start corners in FOMFA. I hate corners and will never start them. So I just wanted to force myself to, you know what, let's consider some corners. So I put them in, and the biggest regret I have is making safety only require one, because it's really deflated the values of safeties around the league.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think. Sorry?
You just one is just a requirement.
Yeah, you can start two, and I had two good ones, so I often flexed one. But yeah, one is essentially the requirement, so not many people are paying up for that position.
Yeah, I think in FOMFA, I mean, I start cornerbacks. Usually, I start at one, but it was because they're kind of like home run plays. Like you have a better shot at interceptions, but if you don't get an interception, you're not getting anything out of that.
Yeah, you might get a couple of passes defense, but at the same time, my safeties, who used to be reliable for me, are now like, the hell is with the 3 points you got there, Harrison Smith?
Harrison Smith has had a very up and down season. We've both been suffering with Harrison Smith and enjoying and suffering. So yeah, like he was basically not starting for me for a good chunk of the year, and now he's kind of back to it because.
Yeah, but he's also stopped playing well as of the last few games. He did poorly the whole first half of the season, then had a bunch of good games. It's like, all right, Harrison Smith is back. And then he just fell off again.
I'm not sure if I'm starting him this week. Right now I am, but I don't know. I don't have a great second option though.
Yeah, I have to put him in if Antoine Winfield is out. So
Winfield this year.
Speaking of what I've got to do in FOMFA, shall we take a look at that matchup?
Rebrand, baby. All right.
And I completely forgot 2 minutes.
I completely forgot to put up the matchup, but I'll put up yours. Bam. There. I did have mine, but I just didn't put it up. Before this, were there any close games? And I don't think they were in
FOMFA was over. Like we
decided.
I ended up like destroying David at the end of things, and as much as Israel was like, I'm not counting it out, it was clearly over. He was up by like 100 points with a couple of guys to go.
Yeah. Congrats to Israel. Like, it's a good season. A lot of things had to work out in terms of not getting injured and whatnot. And he was one of the people in my division that went for it. Steven did as well when they realized I was out of it and Mark's team wasn't doing as well. They made some big moves, and I benefited from some of those moves. Both of them made big trades.
Interesting. That definitely helped them out. That at the time we were like, this doesn't make any sense. Because we weren't expecting Julio Jones to get injured, which would have hurt him if he still had Julio. But now he's got Robert Woods to just throw into the lineup. So.
Ryan and Robert Woods has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
So that definitely worked out. So I mean, good for Israel going into the championship game. And David had a great friggin' start. Like that was nervous times for the Sixes when Josh Allen put up 40.
Yeah. He started out something like 50 points above his early projections. So he was supposed to have 60, 70 points. He had 110 to start. And then early on Sunday, it was like, let's start off with a safety. So 20 points for his defensive lineman. But then after 2:00, he got maybe 10 combined points in the rest of the game.
Just flattened out. It was crazy.
His team just completely shut down. So his final score. This is someone who started out with almost 100 points out of 3 players or something, and his final score was 167.
Yeah, even Matt Judon, who generally hasn't been a good fantasy player, he had 21 points out of Matt Judon. Had 40.6 out of Josh Allen. He had himself a game, but then everybody just died. And Tyler Boyd did nothing, got 0.
When he said nothing, you weren't kidding. That is literally he did nothing.
Tyler Lockett got 6.38. I was suffering with that too. Traquan Smith, not great. This is considering he was 110 going into that window, and he ended up with 167. That is wild.
Yeah, no one really did anything.
When it started out, I was like, "Oh, this is a traditional David King luck game."
Yeah,
he's about to just blast away with the luck right now. And then there was we already talked about Colorado Warrior. I thought Warrior would make more of a comeback, but his big players just didn't give enough, and Colorado had some big performances. So good games all around, and I think we end up with some nice matches. What do you think, though? Do you think the top 2 teams are in the finals in terms of what you thought at the beginning of the year?
I mean, no. I get from what I thought at the beginning of the year. I think we I was saying that the top 2 teams couldn't be in the finals because I thought the top 2 teams were Jason and mine.
Mm-hmm.
The top 2 teams that could match up, I think I projected Wario and myself.
Mm-hmm.
And for what it's worth, Wario outscored over the season significantly everyone else in the conference.
Yeah, and if you look at Wario's lineup, you're like, okay, that's a killer lineup. Even when we were doing the previews last episode, I was like, I'm rooting for Israel, but it doesn't look like it's going to be it's going to be a tough night at the office for him. But ended up with a dominating win.
I mean, the thing here though is like anyone can have these bad games. Yeah. Wario got 156 points this week, so Colorado didn't need the 216 to beat him. David actually got 167 following somehow winning with 163.65. But it's showing like this can happen. So even though I think I'm the favorite going into this, that's what the site says. That just means that I have a slightly higher odds of winning, but anything can happen.
Yeah. Like you look at what some of the players on Wario's team, like in a game that Dallas scored 41 points, Amari Cooper had 2. Like they scored 41 points, and that's actually a game that had implications on my end too, because Chris had started the who would they play? Their opposing team's defense, and Dallas just like put up 41, so he had like 7 points times 0.03. So his defensive coordinator did nothing, and that could have been the difference. If they shut down Dallas, that could have been the 5 points he needed. It happens. What are you gonna do? So then with that, I think we go into this matchup right here. Game of the week, only game.
This is going to be interesting because I need to set a good tone on Friday night's game. Because if you look at the matchup scoring graph, what I like, basically I'm supposed to stay somewhere around 40 points ahead of Colorado throughout the entire thing until Sunday night when I have no one playing and Colorado's a bunch of people playing, where he catches up to me. Mm-hmm. And then I'm 7 down or something. So watching this throughout the weekend, it's going to be like 40 points. Am I up by 40 points? If I'm not, I am not in good shape.
Mm-hmm. So who do you have going on Friday?
Oh, let's take a look. I think Friday's game is a Minnesota one. I think that's probably why. Yeah, so Friday I have Drew Brees. Dalvin Cook, and Justin Jefferson. So some big players on Friday. I think it might just be the 3 of them, but I mean those are still up, and also he's not in my lineup yet. But maybe Harrison Smith if Antoine Winfield doesn't play.
Right. But isn't Antoine Winfield also Friday, or am I wrong about that?
Antoine Winfield is Saturday, so at least he's not Sunday, so hopefully there's some news on him before Friday's game. Right. But
yeah, this is you're going to need a big Friday.
You're going to need a big Friday? Going to need a Christmas miracle. I'm just rooting for points in that game, essentially, because if Minnesota scores, Thielen will do his thing and get a number of touchdowns, annoyingly. But if I have Cook and Jefferson, there's going to be some points there. And then I got Breeze on the other side of it. So I'm really just rooting for a high-scoring Christmas showdown. That would be a good Christmas present for me there.
And unlike me, you are probably rooting for no Julio Jones.
I don't care. Israel doesn't have him anymore. I traded him.
No, I mean for Ridley's sake. Then again, Ridley puts up points with Jones there too.
Yeah, if anything, he gets more targets without Julio. Like he'll get more looks, but at the same time,
he won't have
better coverage on it. So it's sort of a wash.
How about Alex Singleton, man? We're really enjoying Alex Singleton.
Yeah, he keeps the site keeps disrespecting him with the projections. But sooner or later, they should like him. He's one of 2 people I picked up out of free agency who should be promising. The other one is a guy.
No. Did I lose you or did you lose me? Hello, Phil. I'm not sure if I'm out or if Phil's out right now. All right, I'm going to try and reload the page here.
On Houston. I'm debating here, me or Jam, and it looks like Jam just left, so I assume that my connection is fine, and it's Jam's that's scoring.
It looks like it was about that.
Yeah, or where was? Oh yeah, I was saying that I might bench Levante David this week. Could have been either of us because I was trying to load the website and it just failed completely. I'm trying to figure out the name of the.
Oof, this is not going well.
Just been killing it since.
This
Hi,
this is not going well at the end of this podcast. Did I lose you again? God damn it! What is going on? Okay, looks like Phil is also frozen because I've reloaded it a bunch of times, but who knows? This is just a disaster of the end right here. So I think we'll wait to see if Phil's able to come back. But yeah, I think we're wrapping up, and it's going to be a really. I think we're going to get 2 tight games. Phil, can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right. So since I can't hear Phil, and I'm hoping that I'm still on live, I think we're just going to say, since there's no predictions to be made in this particular podcast, and our connection's dying, that I predict I'll win. I think Phil will predict that he'll win, but I think we're going to have some really close games, and I think we're going to have a really enjoy. Let's see. Is this? Are you there? Can you hear me?
for now, I think this is actually on my end too because Rogers has been giving me like.
Oh, there he is. Getting killed. Yeah, he's out again. I think basically it's going to be an interesting end to the season, and it's been a great season. It's been really exciting to have you guys on. It's been really exciting to have you guys involved in the podcast. This has been a different format for the podcast. We're going to have another one before the year ends. But at the end of the day, just good luck on championship weekend, and enjoy the Christmas holidays, and hope to see you guys next time. So thanks a lot. All right, later.